right, you're rolling. All right, 48-2. All right, so I looked up Kimmel and I looked up Kimmel and Caitlyn Jenner. And at one point, Caitlyn Jenner came on Kimmel's show and he apologized for making fun of her previously, as did a bunch of other late night hosts when Jenner went on their shows. So, I mean, there was some joking
and there was some apologizing.
Yeah, but what do you do when a guest comes on your show and you've been joking about that person? Are you going to take the opportunity to say, I think you're completely misguided person who came on my show? No, you don't do that.
Well, the whole thing is ridiculous. He's not going to apologize to Melania. He feels great about it. He was striking. Well, let's see.
He apologized. He apologized today.
The Democrat Party.
He showed a clip. It was goofy. It was not injurious to Melania. But let me hold on before we move off of this topic. Let me talk about the Man Show, because Hannity has been showing 18-year-old clips from the Man Show to show that Kimmel is a sexual predator, which he is in no way. Kimmel is in no way a sexual predator. I wrote for the Man Show, and the hosts of that show were upstanding. They were not sexual harassers or hitter-oners or any of that stuff. They were just trying to make a funny show. And people misunderstand the Man Show, and the Man Show is easy to misunderstand. The intent of Jimmy and Adam, as far as I know, and I think they've said it a bunch of times, is to not only celebrate the stupidity that goes along with being a man, which often involves women, but also to make fun of it. And Jimmy and Adam did 4 seasons of the Man Show. And if you watch those episodes, they're not particularly misogynistic. They're more like guys are idiots and we're going to do idiot guy stuff. It's called The Man Show. Then there was a 5th season without Jimmy and Adam and without their writers that misunderstood the original goals of The Man Show. And I think it was with Joe Rogan and Doug Stanhope. And that season was A, crappier, and B, kind of misogynistic.
Well, I love Adam Carolla. He's one of my heroes. I have 3 heroes: Dennis Prager, Frank Zane, the bodybuilder from the 70s, and Adam Carolla. Ann Coulter would be my hero, but she's a woman, so I want to marry her. So you can't marry your hero.
Why not?
But
would you marry Wonder Woman?
No, I'm just saying my compliment to Ann Coulter is to marry her, not to consider her my role model. But anyway, I think it's kind of weird that Hannity is trying to prove that Jimmy is a misogynist. I mean, it's sort of turnabout's fair play. Their idea is anytime a Democrat wants to hurt somebody, they call him a racist or a sexist or they accuse him of sexual harassment, like they're doing to the president right now. And so I think Hannity thinks he's getting even with some Hollywood guy and saying, look how sleazy Democrats are. They have no business being feminists. But I think it's okay that Jimmy made funny jokes. I don't think the show was sexist. And I don't even think that Jimmy made a bad joke, as I said, about Melania. I think it was moderately funny. The only thing that bothers me is that he's turned his show into political commentary, and that's not what his show used to be. It used to be just more of a comedy show. And now all of a sudden we're getting the wit and philosophy of the great political pundit Jimmy Kimmel. And it's kind of ridiculous because he's out of his depth.
You can argue that, but I would argue back that politics have always been a part of late night. And sometimes, sometimes it's easier to joke about politics than other times.
Yeah, but it wasn't a part of late night. It wasn't. I don't remember Johnny Carson saying anything about politics.
Nixon? Are you frickin' kidding? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that it's all Rick is right, but both parties would get it evenly. And
Well,
it seems like now it just seems like the conservatives get it.
Well, let me just quickly recap a history of politics and late night as far as I know it.
We did this before.
No, just real quickly. Nixon was easy to joke about. He had jowls that shook when he talked. He had the Nixon voice, and he frickin' got hounded out of office. And after,
well, one of the reasons that PBS was invented, public broadcasting, the goal of public broadcasting was to destroy Nixon. That was their purview at the time, and
I don't know from that. But
they did a long documentary in 2016 praising Hillary Clinton and showing Trump to be a lunatic. And this was released on national television, paid by your tax dollars. So what we're objecting to is not Jimmy making a joke about Melania. We're objecting to the TV show, late night Disney owned company, deciding that it's their role in life, it's their mission to attack Trump.
well, that's not a fair characterization.
That's exactly what's happening.
But Trump first entered the public eye in a significant way in the 80s. There was a magazine called Spy, which was...
Yeah, nobody cared about him until now. You didn't hear Jimmy Kimmel making fun of him all the time.
When he was feuding with Rosie O'Donnell 8 years ago.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I mean, he's...
Right now, Trump is what's standing between us and the North Koreans blowing up Los Angeles.
All right, okay, but the deal is that Trump for a long time was part of the pantheon of people that you could more or less easily joke about because people were aware of him as a public figure with some foibles. I mean, in that way, it was as if Michael Jackson or Britney Spears was elected president.
Yeah, but you're making excuses for something that everyone knows is real, and you're not admitting it.
Well, Trump
this is the no spin zone, Rick. I'll give you that it was a moderately funny joke about Melania.
It wasn't that great a fucking show.
But you've got to give me that Jimmy Kimmel is on some kind of mission for the Democrat Party right now. He leaves. There's nothing funnier. Have you seen Nancy Pelosi's face recently?
All right,
have you listened to some of the utterances of Chuck Schumer?
Well,
they're a bunch of kooks.
Hold on. Let's talk about.
Jimmy doesn't think there's anything funny about Nancy Pelosi.
Like,
she's like Mother Teresa to Jimmy Kimmel.
I don't think so. I think
when
she's
did
not.
He say
hold on. Let me offer an argument. Nancy Pelosi looks weird. She's old and she's had plastic surgery, right?
Yeah.
All right. You know who else looks weird and who gets joked about a lot, but that I haven't really seen joked about much in late night is Kentucky Senator, what's his name? Come on.
Rand Paul?
No, the other one. The Senate Majority Leader.
Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell. If you go on the internet and you Google Mitch McConnell turtle, you will get 100 pictures back. Because the guy kind of looks like Yertle the turtle. But that doesn't make for good late night jokery. And maybe you can find an occasional joke, but those are secondary. Okay, here's here's a Republican who maybe has been.
No jokes about no jokes about Bill Clinton raping women. I've noticed.
There were plenty of jokes about Bill Clinton being a horn dog, and about Bill when he was president, and Bill Clinton being a fat boy who had no control over his impulses.
I didn't hear any Jimmy Kimmel making jokes about him.
Jimmy Kimmel was not on the air in late night until more than 2 years after Clinton quit being president.
How come he didn't make any jokes about Hillary Clinton selling 20% of our uranium to the Russians?
Because it's not a joke about. It's not an easily joked about subject. It's complicated, and it's not.
How come
if you have to explain the whole frickin' thing and it takes 5 minutes to explain.
How come he didn't make any jokes about Wiener leaving his laptop so that the Russians could get into Hillary Clinton's top secret information?
Well, hold on.
Wiener, aren't there?
I don't know. Wiener is. I'm on Wiener's side. I'm a Democrat. Wiener was a Democrat. I have written so many frickin' Wiener tweets.
Yeah, but does Jimmy Kimmel, is he trying to make fun of Al Sharpton, who caused a pogrom? Do you know Al Sharpton got a Jew killed?
I know Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton was a man that caused the only anti-Jewish pogrom in the United States in history.
What year?
And a Jew got killed. And now if you listen to him, he sounds like a fool. He sounds like a maniac. Do you hear any jokes about him? Do you hear any jokes about Farrakhan? Farrakhan's kind of a lunatic as well.
But those guys
does Jimmy Kimmel make any jokes about Sharpton, Farrakhan, Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi? No. He's got his standards. For some reason, it only seems to be Republicans that he makes jokes about.
All right, you don't know.
And then when he makes jokes about
I got to say, you don't know what you're talking about.
He apologizes to Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, because Bruce Jenner's a guest on his show.
So he apologizes to him. So it really wasn't much of a joke, was it? If he had to apologize to him, he was basically on his side.
He's a guest on the frickin' show, and he was making jokes like the one thing Jimmy said that I read in the.
This is subterfuge.
What?
This is how you win the debate.
Oh, because I break the post.
That hand.
All right. So, because if I move this hand, it would be to beat you, like what the famous beating in the Senate.
During the Civil War.
Yeah.
Good memory.
But freaking Jimmy said, "I'm sorry, we didn't know what you were up to. We thought you were just vain." Which my wife had an experience.
Well, why does he apologize about it? Why doesn't he just say, Bruce, cutting your winkle off is kind of a lunatic thing to do.
Okay, broke the pose again. Caitlyn Jenner still has her penis. She didn't cut it off.
Well, but having hooters attached to your chest is kind of a lunatic thing to do. Maybe Jimmy should have said, "Listen, I don't think it's funny. It's kind of a sad thing you're doing to yourself."
What about the sad? I've had more plastic surgery than frickin' Bruce Jenner. I've had 13 sets of hair transplants, and I've had a nose job. And at one point, I got permanent eyeliner. Just a little bit. I was losing my hair, and I thought, if I can make people look into my beautiful eyes with a little bit of eyeliner, I got permanent eyeliner tattooed at the corner of my eyes, then maybe they won't notice that my hair's going. It's gone away. It's been absorbed. It was just a few dots. I've had plenty of plastic surgery. If you add it up, the length of the incisions that I've had, it's probably like 6 feet of plastic surgery.
The only thing you should do to your penis is get an extension.
No,
now that's not crazy.
When I worked on the Man Show, we did a report on that, and
if Bruce Jenner came in and Jimmy Kimmel found out he was getting a penis extension, Kimmel should have just patted him on the back and said, "You go for it."
But the deal, most of the penis extension technology is disastrous.
I interrupted. First of all, we'll come back to that. I interrupted your story about your wife.
Oh, well, my wife used to work in an infomercial joint, And celebrities would come in to, pitch their stuff or be cast in infomercials. And she saw Bruce Jenner. She came home and she goes, I saw Bruce Jenner, and his nose is unusually small now. And then, ever since, this was 20 years ago, you'd look at Bruce Jenner, and he had a very petite nose. And everybody's like, my thought was, and my wife's thought was, well, he got a nose job, and they went too far, and they gave him a nose that's too small. But no, it turns out Bruce Jenner got a lady nose. It was his first move towards, becoming Caitlyn, and nobody knew what he was up to. And it was just that, he got a petite, feminine nose.
And you're fine with that?
I've had a nose job. And, I didn't get a lady nose, but I got, I had my nostrils moved in. They went snick, snick, and then they stitched them in like 1/8 of an inch closer, so I didn't have such big nostrils. They took a little bit off here.
They were wide?
Yeah. If you notice, most celebrities, you cannot see up their nose. You're more likely to be successful as a famous person if you don't have the nostrils that you can see up. There's a lot of things. As an artist, you could probably, together, we could develop a whole...
Okay, that's obviously fascinating but what I'm saying is this. It seems to me that it's not something that should be tolerated or encouraged when a man puts breasts on his chest. This is not something Jimmy should be saying, geez,
Jimmy's not the
was
arbiter.
All wrong about that.
Jimmy,
he should be just saying, this poor person is really in a lot of pain, and I'm not going to encourage them with it by treating them like this is normal.
Well, when Jenner was in pain was, to a certain extent, was the 30, 40 years when he wanted to be a woman, and couldn't be because he felt like he wasn't being supported and like society wasn't ready for that stuff.
Yeah, but see, what would he have done 100 years ago? He would have just lived with it, and it probably would never have bothered him. But now that they have the operation, everybody wants to do it. Now listen, I'm going to tell you something really shocking, okay?
All right.
Because I was talking about this with a young person, and because I want to know what danger my country is in. So I asked the young person, who is the future, I said, listen, why are you guys making such a fuss over transgenderism anyway? There's only 1 in 1,000 out there, one out of every 10,000, 100,000 Americans. I said, how many transgenders do you personally even know? And he said, 5. Do you realize that if one young person today knows 5 transgenders, that means that by a generation from now, half the country is going to be
cats and dogs living together.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that's a famous line from possibly Tootsie or some movie where it's just it's somebody's phrase for pure chaos.
Well, I can tell you this, that if the numbers go like that, if it's normal for every person in America to know 5 transgenders, then I fear for the sanity of my country. I do. I feel like there's something wrong that the Democrats are giving to my country. And I blame it squarely on the Democrats for this.
Well, here's my response, which is, here comes the future, motherfucker. And the deal is that before transgenders can overrun society and turn us into a society where who knows what is in anybody's pants, the future will come along with all sorts of new technology, medical, mental, psychological. There will be vast changes in everything. And I'm sorry, my eye itches. Sorry.
I'll itch your eye, okay?
No, don't, you'll get an eye booger. No.
Wait a minute. Here.
I'm good.
You won't feel a thing. Here. Let me get it out with this thing right here. Just kidding.
All right. But the transgender thing is before your apocalypse of people like switching out their genitals happens, so many other things will happen to society to make things different from the way it is now and the way it's been for hundreds of years, that it'll just be one of just so many frickin' things that really it's not going to be the one thing that like Samson pushes over the pillars of civilization.
I actually think it is an acceptance of mental illness. It's basically what we're saying is that America will be populated by people that have been driven crazy, and rather than try to drive them sane, we're just going to give in. We're going to say, "Oh, you know what? It's good.
Ooh, let me do some
what
about
to
it.
Have your body parts chopped off."
You know, what drives people crazy is cell phones.
But
well, hold on.
No, wait. I did have a little theory. I was trying to put
right,
a cap
go ahead,
on this, okay? Because we've danced around it.
All right, put a cap.
And now I'm going to say what it is that really bothers me about it.
Okay.
It's like if people were en masse going into doctors' offices and saying, "I want my left leg amputated," and everyone said, "Oh, I'm so supportive of you. That's so brave. That's so great." And gradually, Americans were amputating limbs that were healthy. I would say that was an unhealthy development in our country. That it would be better if we said, "No, you should not have your limb amputated. You should see a psychiatrist. You should be hospitalized." And I'm having the same reaction to people that want to chop their winkles off, or attach breasts to their chest, or have their vaginas turned into penises. This whole thing is an acceptance and encouragement of mental illness.
You're allowed to have that opinion.
I'm not just allowed, I'm right. I
mean, that's what the show is about. You say you're right, I say I'm right.
But Rick, what else is it? If you chop off a body part, you're crazy. What's wrong with your penis?
I chopped off my nose.
Yeah,
I have my nostrils moved.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Your penis matters to me, Rick. If you chopped it off, you'd be less of a man.
You know what makes me less of a man? The pills I take, the testosterone blockers that I take to keep my hair, what's left of it in this messy thing, actually chemically do a pretty good job of chopping off my penis. My penis is much more recalcitrant to do penis stuff than it used to be because I'm taking these frickin' pills out of some stupid hair-retaining vanity. Is that crazy? Probably. I don't know. But I'm 50, almost 58, so like it really doesn't matter what my penis does. But
all right.
But you know, hold on. No, one more thing. What
right.
really makes people? If you want to worry about what makes people crazy, cell phones make people crazy. Cell phones make people stop in the middle of driving. Just come to a stop in the middle of the street, or come to a stop 4 car lengths before the stop bar, or stop while they're walking on the sidewalk, in the crosswalk. Sorry, because they got an electronic message coming through their electronic message machine. And that's not just one person in 1,000 who's dissatisfied with their genitals. It's everybody. You go to the gym and every freaking machine is occupied by somebody not doing the exercise, but sitting tapping on their frickin' device. I play a game that stops me from exploding in anger when I'm waiting for a machine that somebody is on their phone. I see how many sets I can do on the machine I'm on while I'm waiting before the person on their phone does a single set. And I set a record last week. 20 sets. I did frickin' 20 sets of leg extensions before the guy on the, I don't know, what was it? It could have been the tricep push down or something with bicep. Did one fricking set. That is crazy. That's mass hysteria. Also, something like 40% of American adults are obese, which is a new thing. We grew up in the 70s. Probably less than 10% of American adults were obese. But 2/3 of American adults are either obese or just overweight. Which,
We used to
what's that?
No fat shaming.
No, I'm not fat shaming. I'm just saying that's crazy. And you know what drove us crazy? How delicious food is. How cheap and delicious food is. It made we're not resistant to the deliciousness of food. When you look at what we get to eat now compared to what people ate in the 40s and 50s and 30s, in the 30s during the Depression, there was a program that Eleanor Roosevelt helped with to come up with nutritious food that was bland so that people would get nutrition, but they wouldn't want to eat any more food than they really needed because the food tasted like crap.
And that's a good segue, Rick, into Michelle Obama talked about how Barack Obama was the good parent, forcing kids to, where I'm going with that.
Well, they were both okay. So last week, Michelle Obama made this comment in some interview where she talked about, America's gone from a nation with a good parent, referring to herself and Barack, to a nation with perhaps a less than good parent. Implying that the Trump leadership is something other than.
Yeah, they were the good parents. They let the greatest terrorist state in the world develop a nuclear weapon that they can then shoot at us. But they were being very responsible under Obama.
Okay. Is this going to go anywhere, or are we just going to recap some of our greatest hits?
No, we don't have to. I'm just saying,
so
how responsible are you when you allow things like that? And then Trump is the first president in our lifetime that is standing up to the Chinese with their continuous stealing of intellectual property. They gained under Obama, they stole so many secrets from our military and from our tech sector that now they're ahead of us.
Well, is this
true? In certain military technologies, and it was all because Obama didn't do a goddamn thing to stop him. But he was responsible. And Trump is actually saying, you know what, China? You can't steal our technology. And he's like being the irresponsible parent.
Well, is this true?
My question is
I want to ask you a question.
All right, go ahead.
So is this coming trade war, if we have it, or even if we just do skirmish, whatever it's going to be, is that going to make China? I mean, this is actually is the stealing going to be addressed in this?
Yeah, because that's what it's from. That's why we're going to go. If we do have a trade war, it's because of this. And the reason is that the Obama administration were such a bunch of wimps that they didn't say a fucking thing when China was stealing our technology. And if they did, they would take him to the World Trade Organization and complain. And then the World Trade Organization would say, China, you did a bad thing. And the Chinese would just go, and they would just
well, that's racist. That's racist. That's racist.
They would do this.
No, do not. Don't. Come on.
I actually learned that I had a very close friend. He was my best friend, and he was Chinese. From China. Yeah, don't say. And anyway, he told me that when the Chinese... he grew up in China. He's from communist China. And he said when a Chinese person is basically giving you the finger, they do this.
Yeah,
like you're not going to know what I'm thinking except I don't give a fuck. But there's such a polite culture that they just smile and are silent. And that's where I learned that that's what the Chinese would do to Obama. The responsible parent.
All right,
so Trump
Well, hold on. Let me come back. Let me let me semi-agree with you.
Is the only
Hold on. Let me
thing-
semi-agree with you, which is, over time I've kind of thought Obama was a little too chill, and over time that impression hasn't really been dissipated. So I'll agree with you to a certain extent, though I don't know that we need. I would have rather had an experience, cast iron, who some people called a bitch, in office.
What Trump is he is a patriot, and he sees that China is taking advantage of us. He sees that the World Trade Organization is toothless, as you said. They're not going to change. They're not going to stop stealing from us. And he's standing up for our country, which is, it doesn't take somebody with a Harvard degree. It doesn't take a man with 50 years of experience in diplomatic policy, and it doesn't take the ambassador to China. It takes a guy that's got balls and says, I'm sick and tired of my country being taken advantage of.
Maybe it's not the worst thing. It feels like the worst thing to a liberal, a brainwashed liberal, such as myself. But maybe it's not terrible to once every 220 years have a jackass as president.
Okay, Rick, he's not a jackass. He's trying to protect his country from being robbed blind by the Chinese. And he's willing to fight them if he has to in a trade war. And this is the right thing to do. And thank God we finally have a president with balls.
And do you think bringing the National Guard to the border and a wall is the right thing, or is that kind of
That's more being a leader. The guy, see, this is what you don't understand. We've had intelligent leaders. We've never had a leader with backbone.
Unhingedness.
With backbone. What he has backbone. And he says, my country is being invaded. The scum in the Congress are not going to finance my wall. I'm sending the troops down to the border.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to get that border protected because I love my country.
Like Obama sent troops down to the border? And
Obama sent troops down to the border so he could facilitate those children so that they could be spread around the country.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, when the children,
like Bush, G.W. Bush sent troops.
When the children were coming to our country, Obama took those kids in, and now they're American citizens. Or they're planning to be if the Democrats have their way.
What about when G.W. Bush sent the National Guard down?
If he did, and I know
he did.
he did, but I don't know exactly why he did it. But good, it's good, it's good, and I hope that Trump is able to close the border, and I think it's Democrat treason that allows the state of California to support the illegal aliens over American citizens. I don't know what you're thinking, Rick. Why is it that you want that? Why do you want the governor of California to refuse to close the border? Why does that make you happy?
Is that what's going on?
Yes, the governor of California is refusing to send National Guard troops down to the border. We have to protect the border with people from Texas and Republican states.
Let me give you both sides of the argument.
There aren't any other sides.
No, what I say and then what you say. I could say that the number of people crossing is down like 70%. That this is 2017 had the fewest number of border crossers since 1971.
Actually, this March it tripled when the Congress refused to fund the wall. Just this, they were watching to see if the American government would fund that wall, and when it didn't, the crossings skyrocketed.
I don't know that it tripled, but I'll give you that.
In March it tripled.
No, I've heard that it went up 36%, which is not. But we agree that it went up.
Yeah, so you're willing to do any fucking thing you can to drag your feet. You're willing to listen to any lie, any excuse, any crazy story the Democrats can come up with to get those new voters in. You don't care about your country. You don't care about protecting the border.
No, let me.
Anything they say, any excuse you buy.
Let me. All right. Try sending the National Guard down.
Please.
All right. Let's see if does it.
So you're going to vote for Jerry Brown? He's leaving our border wide open. Do you like that? Is that what you want?
I like Jerry Brown as governor.
Even though he's letting the border be wide open?
Well, let's see if the
He's refusing to participate in a federal directive?
The National Guard can't actually stop anybody. All they can do is observe and help with clerical matters.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, though. It's the actual border guards that are the tip of the spear. With thousands of National Guard people behind them, they'll be free to do their job. In every war, the people doing the actual fighting is a tiny percentage. That's why America wins, because we have so many support troops.
All right, so, I'm not...
Well, you are, though. You may say it's not a bad idea, but you're going to vote for Jerry Brown.
I can't. He's reached...
You're going to vote for any Democrat that was in favor of this. You will never vote for a Republican that wants to close the border, will you?
I'll vote for a Democrat. I don't know which Democrat I'll
Whatever
vote
Democrat is running, you'll vote for, even if they wanted to leave the border wide open, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I think the whole National Guard thing is... Now, I don't know. I don't live in Donald Trump's head. I feel like it's tossing red meat to the base. But, maybe a tighter border is...
Then why are you voting Democrat?
For a lot of other reasons.
So...
No, let's not get into an argument about every freaking reason.
But I mean, really,
I'm a freaking Democrat.
If the border of the United States being free of invaders doesn't matter to you, then what does?
Let's see what they do. Let's see what happens. I mean, because a lot of the border is already walled or fenced.
No, it isn't. It's wide open, Rick. Especially in California.
I didn't say all of it. I said a lot of it.
Look,
the border
Rick,
is what, 2,000 miles?
I'm trying to make a point here. My point is this. The Democrats, I hope there is still an ounce of patriotism left in their filthy black hearts. Because I believe this is a wedge issue. It's the people that are saying this is too far. I will not allow my country to be overrun by the entire Southern Hemisphere. And I will vote against people that have done this to my country. And I'm hoping that this is the time, this is the point where you tip, where you say, I understand that to vote Democrat is to vote anti-American. Are you ready to make that statement?
No, not at all. So, I don't know if you know statistics. You know a lot of stuff. So, in 2017, we caught about 316,000 people trying to cross the Mexican border, the border we share with Mexico. What percent of crossers, do you have any idea, do they estimate were caught? In other words, if we caught 300,000, what is that? How many does that imply got in? Are there statistics on that?
Okay, this is the way it works. I know a little bit about this. The only thing I know is this. The more they catch, the more it means they're trying to get in.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we're winning. It means we're losing. If we're doing well, you catch fewer.
We caught fewer. We caught the fewest in 2017 since 1971 was the last year that fewer than 316,000 were caught crossing.
Okay, well, we just did this argument.
Yeah, but hold on. But you say overrun and 316,000. Let's assume they catch half.
There are 30 to 50,000 a month pouring into the country.
Yeah, that's if you do the math. That times 12 gives you, 300, 400,000 a year.
Yeah, well, that's not a problem, is it?
Well, it could be a problem, but
well,
when you say
no, it is a problem. I was being sarcastic.
No, but hold on, because 316,000 is not even 1/1000th the population of the United States.
But it's enough to tip every single state in the country to vote Democrat.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. You could, if you give the vote to every one of those people, you're going to make America Democrat for the next 3 centuries.
They don't get the vote.
Oh, yes, they do. And if they don't, their kids will. Every time they spit out a kid, that's 18 years from now, that's a Democrat.
Ooh, so let's watch out for 2035, 2036.
That's the way it's been going since the 1970s.
Do you think, Rick, that drugs coming across the border and potential terrorism may be a reason as well?
Well, drugs are. Drugs are. Both countries, at the least, are part of the drug problem.
The opiate crisis is the worst it's been. It's the worst drug crisis we've had possibly in our history.
Yeah.
And the Mexican gang, the V13, M13, whatever they are,
Yeah.
they're MS-13. They're the biggest supplier of opiates.
Yeah, but they're not entirely responsible for the demand.
Rick,
Hold on, because what about what's...
Rick, if you cut off the supply, there'll be less demand.
What about, I mean...
You're now supporting the drug crisis in America. You're now on the side of the gangs. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
So given the choice between closing the border and keeping the MS-13
that's fine. That's
over,
fine.
You're on MS-13.
I'm not an MS-13 fan. I'm sorry, anybody who's watching who's part of MS-13, do not do bad things to me. I'm sure your gang stuff is perfectly fine, but
as a Democrat, you see America as being part of the problem.
It is part of the problem.
Yeah, it's like you see both sides of it, huh?
No, but like
there's the MS-13 and there's the average American teenager. And for you have to be open-minded. You got to be broad-minded about it.
Well,
if American teenagers weren't so irresponsible,
who do you think
we wouldn't have this drug problem?
Who do you think
there is a demand?
So wait, so you're saying the American teenager as if that's your average opiate addict?
I'm saying the average Democrat will do anything to prevent the border from closing, even blaming Americans for MS-13 bringing drugs over. Don't you see how brainwashed you are?
That's not what I'm saying.
That's the logic in your head.
All right,
everyone can see it.
Here, I'll give you this. I don't want frickin' gangs bringing drugs into the country.
But you don't want soldiers on the border, do you?
I just said I'm okay with trying it.
But you'll vote for Brown, even though he refuses to support it in a treasonous manner.
Yeah.
But didn't Reagan grant citizenship to amnesty? Lance?
What's
Reagan
that? What?
Reagan granted amnesty to all these immigrants.
Well, Reagan was treasonous. He was a treasonous dude. He was one of our most treasonous presidents.
For granting amnesty?
Yeah, frickin' what's up with Reagan giving amnesty to illegals? It seems like, I don't know.
It's the worst argument I've ever heard.
Okay. But let me just say that I don't want.
Do I have to deal with that argument?
No. Let's just move on. I don't want MS-13. But I don't want gangs bringing drugs into our country.
Then why are you willing to vote Democrat? They're the ones supporting it.
I like Democrats.
Okay. And the other thing that our
but hold on.
Our learned director didn't mention is that it turns out that in Texas, there have been hundreds of thousands of crimes, felonies, committed by illegals. In the last 7 years, there have been 3,000 rapes committed by illegals. Because in Texas, they actually publicize who's committing the crimes. And there have been about 250,000 felonies committed by illegals in the past few years. And so you're in favor of that too, right?
How many illegals are in Texas?
Well, enough to commit 250,000 felonies and 3,000 rapes.
How many felonies did Whitey commit?
Well, let me put it this way, Rick. There would be 250,000 less felonies and 3,000 less raped women if you Democrats hadn't let the illegals into this country.
That's a decent argument. Let's see if putting the National Guard on the border does anything.
And let's see if you vote Republican.
No. But I got to say, the demand side, in the opioid crisis, a lot of it comes from the pharmaceutical company that is the leader in OxyContin. What's the name of that company? I can look it up. But anyway, one company created this time-released, well, first it wasn't time-released, and then it was, versions of OxyContin, and shipped it like crazy, and encouraged doctors to prescribe it because it was saying it wasn't addictive. Turns out it's crazily addictive, and when adults, your average opioid, the average opioid addict is not a teenager. It's an adult who suffered from usually chronic pain, who got hooked on OxyContin, and then the supply dries up when the prescription runs out, and then they start looking for other things that give them the same effect, which heroin turns out to be cheaper than black market OxyContin. And that's a problem. I mean, it doesn't address the immigration thing, but it's...
In this conversation, you have admitted to me that maybe Trump's doing the right thing and standing up to China. That maybe Trump's doing the right thing and sending troops to the border to stop illegal immigration. And maybe Trump's doing the right thing if he has to attack Iran to knock out their nuclear facilities. All of which he's willing to do. So why are you still voting Democrat?
Because I think a Democrat could be better overall.
But the Democrats created these situations.
You can argue that. I'd argue. Let's move on to something else.
No, I want to know what it is that makes you cling to this irrational belief in the Democrats.
Because I think Democrats do a better job of governing.
In what way, specifically? What is your issue? Transgender bathrooms?
I don't give a crap about bathrooms.
What? That is so insensitive of you. What if a transgender needs to take a piss?
There's plenty of ways to reasonable ways that may not be entirely satisfying to liberals or conservatives that frickin' have them use the bathroom in the teacher's lounge.
What is the issue that keeps you voting Democrat?
The Democrats are not as scummy as Republicans, and that they are they're not as scummy, they're not as scammy.
You don't know that.
I look at the people who hold office right now.
But they're more. Ted Cruz is more scummy than Bill Clinton?
I like Clinton better than I like Ted Cruz.
You're voting on Bill Clinton because of his charm?
Well, I'm not voting on Clinton.
You vote Democrat because you think they're more charming?
No, I think
like them better.
Oh, I like the years from 1993 through 2001. Those were decent years.
What is the issue that keeps you voting Democrat?
Democrats are not presenting bullshit programs to hide that they're just trying to redirect money to rich people.
So, you think that the Democrats are trying to help the poor?
We're not going to have this argument again. We've already had that argument.
Did you know that the 20 poorest cities in America are all run by Democrat mayors? Because they use Democrat policies in those cities. And it increases the poverty by reducing the business.
So you're saying that we should have a tax structure that lets rich people off the hook and then everything's going to be frickin' great.
It has nothing to do with taxes. I'm just trying to listen.
That's the major accomplishment of the Trump administration.
You're voting Democrat because of tax structure? All the moral issues we've discussed, border security, standing up to China and Iran, the war in Iraq, all of it boils down to tax structure for you?
The major accomplishment, besides getting one more conservative on the Supreme Court, of the Trump administration has been the tax cut which favors rich people and corporations.
What did you think about moving the embassy to
Oh, wait.
Jerusalem?
Oh, one more thing. I don't know. I'm not very well informed about it. But, you know, I've been doing this year for the first time. My dad is a CPA, and for 30 years, 40 years, he did my taxes. This year, I'm doing my own taxes, and I am paying the feds less than 2% of my income, of our income, my wife and my income. I'm paying the state less than 3.5%. So you've argued that in the paradise that would be a Republican California, that I wouldn't have to pay 10% of my hard-earned money to the state. Well, it turns out I did my own taxes. I'm not paying 10%. I'm paying 3.5% to have highways and libraries and cops and firefighters. That seems like a reasonable, and it's not like I would be that much richer if I had my 3.5% back. So I'm just saying that it's. I don't find.
I don't know about your taxes. I do know that California has one of the highest sales taxes in the country. And New York actually has the highest, another Democrat state. And we also have the highest state income tax in the country. If you like that, more power to you.
I don't mind giving the state 3.5%.
Well, how come people in Texas and Florida don't have to give them anything?
I don't know.
Because they're run by responsible Republicans.
Yeah, what about Kansas with Brown? I know sometimes you end up doing without stuff sometimes.
Okay, my point is this.
Anyway, 3.5%.
Your belief in the Democrat Party is emotional at this point.
Fine.
It has nothing to do with logic anymore.
No, we've got a lunatic in the White House.
Prove it. Tell me one crazy thing he's done, other than his hair transplants.
It wasn't the worst thing he did was get a scalp reduction.
Yeah.
That's where they take a banana.
A lot of people think that was, at the time, thought it was the way to go.
It turns out not to be.
Okay. Well, besides that, what crazy thing has he done?
He tweets the crap all the time. He tweets like 6 times a day. The Washington Post, I know of fake news, keeps track of the number of false or misleading statements he makes.
Like what?
Well, there's a list, an exhaustive list that he makes an average of.
Let me tell you something. I've read those lists, and I think they're false. I think the Democrats writing those lists are lying more than he is. Because they're lying about what he's saying. But I don't believe it. I don't believe what the Washington Post says Trump is saying. Because sometimes I go back and I read the actual speech, and I know that he's making a joke, and they're saying he means it. You're listening to completely biased news sources, and you can't come up with a single crazy thing he's done. Not a single crazy policy. What crazy policies has he come up with?
You're not allowed to. Okay, putting Scott Pruitt in charge of the EPA.
Scott Pruitt's the best thing that ever happened to the
Scott
EPA.
Pruitt belongs to a church that says it's a sin not to maximize the exploitation of natural resources. Scott Pruitt belongs to a church that says burn more coal, use more oil. And I guess there's room for that point of view in discourse.
I guess there
but
is.
Not running the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency.
It's supposed to be a bunch of gangsters that are shaking people down for their money.
Now, you love Disneyland. You've had an annual pass for Disneyland for how many years?
Probably 15 years.
How many bodyguards do you take to Disneyland when you go?
The reason Scott Pruitt needed bodyguards...
30 bodyguards to go to Disneyland?
The reason he needs them is because Democrat environmentalists are completely insane and are trying to kill the guy. And there's no way that I don't believe that, because I've met some of these environmentalists, and they will kill you.
Well, it came out...
If they think that you're damaging the environment... Democrats will kill you.
So who have they killed?
What about who's that guy? The Unabomber was a crazy Democrat environmentalist. He killed like 5-10 people.
Yeah, how many years ago? I mean, one crazy guy.
But Pruitt is receiving death threats from Democrats. He has every right to have bodyguards. Sorry, Rick, not a good argument.
He took 30 bodyguards to
Good.
Disneyland.
I'm glad he's safe.
At his security costs.
Because the Democrats shot up half of our congressmen last year at a baseball game.
One crazy guy shot. Anyway.
The fucking Democrat beat up Rand Paul in front of his house.
That was a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute.
No, it was a Democrat.
Yeah, it was a dispute over...
It was a dispute because Rand Paul was a Republican.
We could look it up. It wasn't...
What about all those poor Republicans that got shot by a Democrat? And what about all those poor Republican capitalists that were killed by the Unabomber? And what about those? And now Pruitt has the audacity, when he gets death threats from crazy Democrat environmentalists, to actually believe that he might be in some danger.
Somebody did a freedom...
Do I have to yell? Wait,
no, you don't
I need to get this point across because you're stepping on my line, kid.
You don't have to yell.
Okay, I do because I'm far from the mic.
Or stand up. Stand up.
Pruitt made the reasonable assumption that crazy environmentalists might be serious when they send him death threats. And you think he should go in there brave. He should be more brave. He should stick his neck out. He shouldn't be afraid. Why have bodyguards? He should let the Democrat environmentalists kill him.
I don't think they killed that many people. And somebody...
Well, they just shot up half the Republican Congress on a baseball field a year ago.
One guy got shot.
They tried to kill them all. It was a miracle that the guy just got... that they managed to shoot him. We just lost 5... There were half a dozen of them in the hospital. And you're telling me I should be upset with Pruitt because he really thinks he needs bodyguards.
30 to go to Disneyland.
They're after his kids too. Look at Kimmel. He makes fun of Melania.
Oh, actually,
families are not safe from the Democrats.
One reason.
Look at the glee they have. His poor son is getting a divorce.
One reason Kimmel said he was apologizing is because his family received death threats. And he said he didn't want to add to the rancor.
And that leads to a...
Hold on there. Hold on here. Because now I've forgotten my point.
What is with Kimmel? What I was going to say, we have the privilege here of probably 1 in a million Americans where you know Kimmel. You've worked with him personally for many years. Can you give us kind of your overall impression, knowing him personally?
First, hold on. First, it came out today, a journalist did a Freedom of Information request with the EPA asking for any documentation, any documented death threats to Pruitt. And the EPA came back saying we have no documented death threats. Now, I'm sure there were. I'm sure people tweeted and messaged and did some stuff. I still don't think you need to take 30 bodyguards to Disneyland.
Okay,
how many kids does Pruitt have?
What Pruitt is encountering right now is this. The EPA is one of the dirtiest Democrat bureaucracies.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I have to bring it up again to support my point. Excuse me. And what Pruitt is trying to do is to clean it up, and he is in a den of snakes because they hate his guts. Because their little game of shaking people down for money by saying they found a snail on their land is going to be at an end. And thank God he's doing it. And thank God he's helping Trump bring back the coal industry. And thank God he's helping Trump open up land for fracking so that we can be energy independent of the Arabs.
You know why we're energy independent?
Wait, I'm not done yet.
We're energy independent because of natural gas, not because of coal.
And all of this is part of the project that Pruitt is involved in. Thank God for Pruitt. What's his name? Pruitt? Is it?
Scott Pruitt.
Yeah. Thank God for Pruitt. And the sons of bitches at the EPA will do anything to get rid of him. And I hope he's in office forever. I hope he spends more money on his personal safety.
Awesome. The number one growth industry in America is solar panel installer. The three top highest growth industries are all, the number two industry is wind turbine constructor installers. I mean, there's more people, like 4 times as many people are
Wind turbines. It's the most inefficient method of creating energy. Did you know that?
Why?
There is no less efficient method than wind turbines.
What's getting spent?
Let me put it this way. You can go upstairs on the internet and look up nuclear, coal, oil, hydroelectric, solar, and wind. And you will find that wind is the most absurd of all of them. So if Americans are spending their money on wind turbines, that's just one more thing I have to worry about.
I bet you the cost...
It's probably the same guys that are getting their penises chopped off, too.
Probably the cost, per kilowatt hour for wind energy is declining fairly steadily, the same way it is for a lot of alternative energy. There are 4 times as many people employed in the solar industry as there are in the coal industry.
Yeah, well...
So when you're effing over the solar industry, you're effing over...
Who's effing over the solar industry? I'm not.
Well, I mean, I don't see...
Pruitt isn't. You want to have solar panels, you be my guest.
We got checked out for... Carol doesn't want solar panels. Anyway. All right, so what do you want me to say about Jimmy Kimmel?
Well, we have a tremendous... This is like of all the folks on the internet, all the bloggers and stuff, you, sir, have personally worked with him for...
Yeah, I can't say that much, but I can say that I've always found him a highly decent, honorable, generous, charitable man. He's a good guy in an industry that often shelters, as we know from recent history, often shelters people who are less than decent as long as they make money for somebody. He's maintained his decency in a tough job that might tend to erode the decency of people. He remains a good man, a good person.
So are you saying he does a lot of things like anonymously?
I would guess so, but I can't say too much. But yeah, I would say ask around, but most people can't ask around. But you take my word for it that he's a mensch. All right, what's the next? Let's break.
All right.